This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and what you're looking at here, guys, is a recent article from the World Economic Forum titled 4 Global Risks to Look Out For in the Post-Pandemic Era. Now, maybe I should remind you before we delve into this very revealing piece that the World Economic Forum, which was founded by Klaus Schwab back in 2019, partnered up with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, along with the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, and they launched a tabletop exercise called Event 201. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise on October 18th, 2019, in New York. The exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Again, this was a high-level pandemic exercise that the World Economic Forum conducted in October of 2019, discussing how the world would respond to a severe pandemic, and we all know what happened just 3 months later as these predictions all came to fruition to a T. I reported on this back in March of 2020 in this video. We need to talk about Event 201 and the COVID-19 Predictive Programming Campaign, because that is exactly what that was, ladies and gentlemen, and that is exactly what they are now engaging in with this new piece, where they talk about an upcoming era of shock events. And they list 3 potential things that society is going to have to be leery of. Number 1, they say there is a new global extremist group that is going to emerge. They also say there's going to be a cyber pandemic that will be intentional. And last but not least, they claim that climate change will claim its first island nation in the post-pandemic era. Again, these aren't just some sort of cheap predictions. These are the very people who have told you what was going to happen in Event 201, and they are now warning exactly what is going to happen again in this piece, 4 global risks to look out for in the post-pandemic era, guys. So we're going to jump into this and much more in this video. But really quickly before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Here you can sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever is within your means, guys, is very greatly appreciated. I cannot continue to do this work without the support coming directly from you, the viewers. So if you've been watching Press for Truth over the years and you have yet to contribute, maybe today is the day. You can click that top link in the description below of whatever video platform you happen to be watching this on and join me at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Thank you so much to everybody who takes 1 minute today to contribute to my efforts financially here at Press for Truth. All right, guys, let's jump right into this. They have these 4 different areas outlined, and the first one is power disperses in a post-superpower era, with the second being a big election year won't stop a recurring crisis of political legitimacy. And they kind of work together. So let's start with this. Most citizens would agree that our community of world leaders, including the G7 and G20, largely fell short in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let me be clear. When the World Economic Forum is saying that G7 and G20 world leaders fell short of tackling the COVID-19 pandemic, what they are referring to here is that there were not enough strict lockdowns. You know, that not enough people got inoculated with the experimental mRNA technology, that, you know, mask mandates were not, you know, inflicted enough for anybody to be able to actually stop the transmission. More tyranny is what we need. And, you know, that they are going to be the ones to offer this through global government. And they talk about how, you know, faith in democracy is being shaken. A big election year won't stop our reoccurring crisis recurrent crisis of political legitimacy. Everyone has rightly noted how 2024 is the biggest election year in history, with around half the world going to the polls. This, of course, could still be complicated by AI disinformation, they say, cyber threats, or simply just accusations of rigging, as we've seen in countries like Bangladesh, Venezuela, and the US. First of all, they are the ones who are behind, AI disinformation, potential cyber threats. And it's funny that they would talk about accusations of, election meddling and rigging in places like Bangladesh, Venezuela, and the US, when their very own founder, Klaus Schwab, has openly admitted and talked about how they infiltrate various cabinets around the world and how they have installed their own people into these positions of power throughout the world's cabinets, like the Canadian one. Here in this video, he openly talks about how they penetrate cabinets and, like, for example, how Justin Trudeau's 50% of his cabinet is made up from his WEF insiders. Check out this clip in case you haven't seen it.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
So here, this man is openly talking about how they've infiltrated various world, governments around the world, installing their own WEF agents into these various cabinets. And then he, wants to go on and talk about how, democracy is fleeting here. Says, anti-government unrest has reoccurred everywhere since the Arab Spring, representing an enduring global crisis of political legitimacy. People have fought back in all political systems, driven by a conviction that there must be a better, more effective way to govern. In most countries, even after their vote, citizens will continue to challenge their leaders, questioning whether they have the capacity to tackle or many post-pandemic risks. So here they're saying we have a problem. People are realizing democracy is the illusion of choice. They're understanding that there must be a better and more effective way to govern. So we essentially are going to have to quash and silence dissent and introduce an eventual global government to deal with these growing global issues. That's what they're saying here. They say a more complex global mental health crisis is coming down the pike. The pandemic was the greatest threat to mental health since the Second World War, according to the WHO. No, it wasn't the pandemic that was the greatest threat to mental health. It was the government's response to the pandemic. It was the lockdowns. It was the forced mandates and inoculations and masking. This is what led to a rise in depression, alcohol use, drug use, suicide counts going up, people feeling, alienated. They now want to turn this around and say, no, it wasn't our response to the pandemic that did that. It was actually climate change. Yeah. Get a load of this. They say therapists are saying that climate change is generating a new type of anxiety here, leading to a sense of alienation that makes it hard to function and even suicide. That's what's doing this. This eco-anxiety is likely to escalate as governments continue to fail on their transition away from fossil fuels. So you could expect more extreme climate events to further exacerbate our mental health, especially for a growing number of climate refugees. And goes on to say here, AI is being imposed on us, whether we like it or not, and many feel that they're not going to fit into this new AI-driven economy. That they're going to be left behind by these AI tools. And they have this so-called expert here saying he has a prediction that is coming to becoming accurate, forecasting that 50% of all jobs will be wiped away by 2027, and a violent backlash against AI is inevitable, as many people will be left, are going to fear that they will be left behind in this transition. These are the very people who are, actively behind this AI technology and who are openly telling you, even in this article, that 50% of your jobs are going to be gone by 2027. so like they're making the claim that that's why people are going to revolt without explaining that they're the ones pushing for it. And then it goes on to say that there is an era of shock events that are coming. And this is, again, not some cheap prediction. These are the very same people who told you exactly what was going to happen in October of 2019 and how the world was going to respond to it. And then 3 months later, it all happened. It all came to fruition. So now, here they are talking about an era of shock events. So what do we got? A new global extremist group is going to emerge, they're telling us. With the world distracted with multiple major wars and leadership in decline, this could be an opportunistic time for a new extremist group to make its mark and maybe not face as many consequences. Perhaps it will even leverage AI tools to kick off a new phase of terrorism. So forget about Al-Qaeda. That was so 20 years ago. Forget about the Taliban. Never mind, ISIS. What they're telling us is that get ready for a brand new era of extremist groups who are going to use AI technology to bring on a whole new phase of terrorism. This is what the World Economic Forum is telling you is going to happen in the very near future, guys. They say a cyber pandemic that is intentional is coming. The massive global IT outage in July was not terrorism, but simply a faulty software update from a cybersecurity firm. Was it just simply a faulty software update? Or was it a little bit of a test run for what they are telling you is going to happen? Yet it cost Fortune 500 companies $5.4 billion in damages. It shut down flights and banks and hospitals and retailers and other services worldwide. Imagine, they say, if a bad actor did this on purpose or even on a grander scale. Well, imagining that is exactly what these guys have been doing. In fact, they had a whole scenario event called Polygon. I exposed it in this video from June of 2021. The next false flag will be a cyber attack on global supply chains. Polygon exposed. In this video, I spoke with my friend James Corbett of the Corbett Report about this upcoming Polygon simulated event. Guys, if you have not seen this, make sure you check it out. I'll put a link to this in the description below. But again, here they are warning everything that they've already, laid out in their Polygon simulation, that this is potentially what we're going to have to deal with in the near future. Again, these aren't cheap predictions. They're telling us what they're going to do. Climate change claims its first island nation in the post-pandemic era. The COP28 plan to phase out fossil fuels may take decades, and it's unclear if world leaders are going to follow through. What's more probable, they say, is that in the meantime, certain island nations, who emit only 0.3% of global emissions, will keep fighting their cause, whether it is through international law or new climate funds. But if these islands do succumb to climate change, sinking a lot faster than we expect, how will climate activists and world leaders react? What a nonsense scenario. Islands are not just going to out of nowhere sink due to climate change. And it makes you wonder, what on earth are they preparing to engineer here? Because if they are able to pull off such a scenario, what world leader is going to be able to, publicly speak out against the dangers of climate change when everybody's pointing to, look what just happened? Can't you see? An entire island nation has just plummeted, just sunk into the ocean due to climate change. We must respond to global problems with global solutions. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what they're orchestrating here. It's this order out of chaos mentality. That's their modus operandi that they've had. And that's why, when I pointed out things like this, even back then, me and my friend Jason Burmis here in this interview are saying we're not making predictions here. We're just telling you what they are telling us that they're going to do. And just like in Event 201, they did lay it all out, and then it did all come to fruition. And now they're warning about this, all these new things that are coming. I think it's important that we pay attention to it, folks, moving forward. Because as I said, these guys aren't, just making like these cheap predictions. They are the ones behind pulling off a lot of this stuff to a great extent, as we've already proven over the years is the case. So again, if you haven't seen my video, we need to talk about Event 201 and the COVID-19 predictive programming campaign. Really important for you to understand that video so you can, have a better understanding of what they're trying to pull off today. And again, I'll remind you, if you haven't seen this one, the next false flag is going to be a cyber attack on global supply chains with cyber Polygon exposed. Make sure you check that one as well. I'll put a link to all of this in the description below. So just wanted to bring this one to your attention, guys. You can check it out for yourself. I'll have a link to this in the description below as well. Don't forget to check me out at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously bring you this information, once again, I can't continue to do this work without the support coming directly from you, the viewer. And that is such a much better relationship, to have. I'm beholden to you, the viewer. I don't have any corporate overlords. I don't have any bosses. I don't have anybody telling me what kind of information I can or can't say. I do whatever I want here at Press for Truth, and I'm only able to survive because of the support that comes from you, the viewers. So if that's something you appreciate, please check me out at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. That's all for today, guys. Just wanted to bring all of that to your attention. Please click the thumbs up button. Make sure you share this video with your friends and your family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned, guys. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.